of the Constituent Assembly tasked with drafting the country's new constitution. So she's not a stranger to any of these things at all. She continued to shine, and in 2015, Chama cha Mapinduzi presidential candidate John Magufuli chose her as his running mate for that year's general election, made her the first ever female running mate in the party's history. Upon his victory in the election, Samia consequently became the first vice president in the history of Tanzania. According to the constitution, which you've just told us now, she performs the functions of assisting the president, performing all duties assigned to him, and functions of the office of the president when the president is out of office or out of the country. And now, upon his death, she will then assume the office of president.
Yeah, and this is, a very clear matter, at least for in the Constitution of Tanzania. It doesn't matter at what point the president ceases to be president or the office of the president falls vacant, the vice president takes over for the remainder of the term.
Yes.
This whole issue of hold an election within 90 days doesn't exist. Don't create unnecessary tension. You elected these two people together. So the person who remains takes over, goes on, And I think that has given them some very good clarity on what happens in their country. So the vice president now will be sworn in as the president, and after she's sworn in, then she nominates somebody to become her vice president, and that person just requires 50% approval of all members of the National Assembly. This, of course, is in consultation. It says very clearly, in consultation with the party that nominated the vice president to office. So CCM will have to decide who becomes the vice president of Tanzania after Ms. Suluhu Hassan becomes president.
By the way, when you talk about female African presidents, there have been a total of 9, actually. Now, some were acting. Some acted for a month. Some acted for 2 months. Some tried for a year. But they were nonetheless presidents. Remember, currently as we speak, Ethiopia has a president.
Yes.
Female.
Actually, yes. She lived in Kenya for a while as head of United Nations office in Nairobi.
October 1993, Sylvie Kiningi was acting president of Burundi from February to October 1993. Nobody knows about her, but she was. Ivy Matsepe Kasaburi was acting president of South Africa, no less, in September 2005. Just that 1 month, September.
That's what I was going to say.
But she was president, yes. Now, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is known, okay? She was president of Liberia. Okay, Rose Francine Rogombe was interim president of Gabon, 2009, June 2009, October. Agnes Monique Osan was acting president of Mauritius, July 2012 to May, June 2015. Joyce Hilde Banda, she is known, was president of Malawi, 2012 to 2014. Catherine Samba was acting president of Central African Republic, 2014 to March 2016. Ameni Gurib Fakim was president of Mauritius, 2015 March to 2018. And then we have Saleh Work Zewde, president of Ethiopia as we currently speak. So, this delightful continent of ours has actually had 9 presidents. And now...
9 women presidents,
Yes, 9 presidents who are women. Okay? I wanted to focus on the president first.
Okay.
They were presidents. Yes.
Why were so many of them just acting for a short period?
Because they were in a position to act, given that in many instances, politically speaking, people want to be gender sensitive, so a woman is appointed. But with the understanding that it is not possible for them to ascend to that seat.
So why don't? That's what I'm asking.
Why not?
In
Why
those
is it
cases,
not possible for them to ascend to those seats? I think is the
No, it's not that they can't ascend. They are considered safe. Listen, politically speaking, people do not choose deputies who are perceived to be as good as them or who are perceived to be as powerful as them. People tend to choose deputies who are considered a little lukewarm. And
because they never anticipate that those deputies would rise to the position at which they are at.
And even if they're not lukewarm, they're supposed to act lukewarm. You just look at the list of vice presidents in any country on this planet. You tell me. Vice presidents, most of them are not known at all, even by the people who are in that country.
Whether they're men or women, actually.
It doesn't really matter. Now, if they're women, they'll be better known because that is an anomaly. It's unusual.
Something new.
Yes.
Time for a break at 24 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We are looking at the news that's coming out of Tanzania, the death of President John Pombe Magufuli. After the break, we talk about harnessing technology to accelerate transition from COVID-19, lessons and strategies that we can learn from universities. We'll be speaking with the Vice Chancellor of Kibabii University in Bungoma County, Professor Isaac Kipara Odeo. Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room.
SpiceFM, Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be.
All right, mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi. The sun is going to peek through those clouds, however. Highs of 27 and lows of 16 today. It's mostly sunny in Nyeri, 12 degrees. Highs of 24 and lows of 14. Sunny conditions in Nakuru at 14. Highs of 27, lows of 14. Lows of 13 in Eldoret. Sunny at 14. Highs of 26. 29 the high and lows of 20. Partly sunny conditions in Kisumu. It's partly sunny in Kakamega as well at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 16. 32 will be the high. It's 26 and raining in Mombasa. Mostly sunny conditions in Malindi at 25, highs of 32. Highs of 27, mostly sunny in Kampala. Dar es Salaam is still raining at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And it's sunny in Johannesburg at 13, going to highs of 25. We'll see highs of 30 in Lagos. Rain showers still continue at 25 at the moment. And it's mostly clear in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, so we're still looking at heavy traffic on Mombasa Road in and outbound. We're going to see that today. Industrial area also is going to take it today because we're seeing roads still closed because of construction. And so we also see that because certain parts, Enterprise has been closed, people are going to be using the Lakoni interchange, and that will affect traffic on Mombasa Road going as far back as the SGR today. So that's quite something that we're looking at. All right, so we're still seeing traffic on Kiambu Road. It's backing up quite some, and then you're trying to join the Muthaiga Square, getting to the Pangani underpass and then out into the city. Use Wangari Maathai Road. It is a better option for you now. You won't be stuck for too long. All right, so traffic building up in most parts of the city today. This one we're going to have to play it by ear. Let's see how it unfolds in a short while. Incidents or accidents, let us know. Somewhere folks should not be going or avoiding, let us know as well. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 28 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, broadcasting in Nairobi on Spice FM around the country. We're also live streaming the show on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The live stream is up. And we're also live on KTN Home. Let's have a conversation about harnessing technology, accelerating transition from this COVID-19. The things that we've talked about, COVID-19 shut down all schools, let all learners go home. So what happens? How are you able to continue learning and education during this period? And it was a big challenge because now it's people thinking, how can we transition to online and use technology to continue offering tuition and learning to our learners? Many universities and colleges had now to start thinking of how to roll out online classes in the country. And we've talked about this. We basically said it appeared clearly that many of our universities were caught flat-footed on this. Did you have a platform that is ready? Did you have a way in which students from wherever they are could actually be able to access your online platforms? You could sort them out in terms of data access and how then they'd be able to get online and access the information. Who would be able to log in? Who would be able to get into, for example, if you needed research material on library, how can you access all that? How can you have conversations with your lecturers online? This was a challenge, and many universities actually adapted quite fast, and they moved into this. But still, I think that's a learning curve that they took on quite well, but many, many challenges still abound.
Indeed, there would be, and one wonders why, because the university is supposed to be the citadel. They're supposed to be the paragons by which you determine not just learning but innovation. And that is why when you look at all these departments that universities have, the understanding is that new ideas ought to be coming out. Yes, much as people are taught and trained in what exists, but there is also the idea of new ideas coming from these institutions, because that is the whole point of knowledge. You don't sit on what you just have, you improve on it.
Sure.
And that is why when people graduate, you are told that you're given power to read and all that pertains to it. You're not told to sit on your laurels and feel that you have reached the end. You haven't. The message is you've just begun.
Exactly.
Yes. But it appears that when it comes to research and development, that very many of our institutions of higher learning don't seem to have documented a focus in this department. No. They are institutions of higher learning, period. But as to furthering knowledge through research and development, that unfortunately is not very clearly documented.
Well, sure. And then we're also looking at embracing the reins and taking hold of the reins of things like innovation and development, trends, things that are happening in the new world, which would take on a different way of doing things. And then throw all of that in together into this big pot of new strides that need to be taken because of COVID-19. And then you have what people really need to essentially sit up and take notice of what is going on. Can we have universities where nobody actually has to be in the same room with a lecturer and students? Is it possible to have that done and still have the same quality of education and still the same impartation of knowledge that would take place just because I'm seeing you face to face? And I think that's the world that we have to be embracing right now.
Yes. Let's have a conversation with the Vice Chancellor of Kibabii University, and this is Professor Isaac Ipara, who joins us on the line now via technology. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
I think let's just start off by introduce Kibabii University to our audience. There are those that have heard about it, there are those that know it, and there are those that I'm sure are hearing Kibabii University for the first time.
Well, I'll start with my name, Professor Isaac Ipara Odeo, the Vice Chancellor of Kibabii University. Kibabii is just about 7 kilometers from the Bungoma CBD and 400 kilometers from Nairobi. It's in Bungoma County, the western region. It's the 23rd public university. And when I talk about public, I'm talking about fully fledged, having been awarded charter in 2015. It currently has a student population of 7,500 and faculty and staff of 428. We have about 50 accredited programs, 5 schools and faculties, and if I could just mention, top on the list is the School of Computer and Informatics, We also have School of Business. We have Faculty of Education, Faculty of Science. We just started School of Nursing. Thank you.
Why, Professor, would you say that you decided when you're listing the courses that you offer, you started with IT and informatics? Why did you start with that?
Right from the beginning, we identified that as our niche. That is our flagship program. And we have invested heavily in terms of human resource, in terms of infrastructure, hardware, software, and buildings for that particular sphere of education.
Mm-hmm. Now, detail for us the heavy investment, the focus. How does it manifest itself? The buildings, okay. The equipment, yes. Now, what is the end product of all this investment? What is it that the university has produced? What does it hope to produce in the future? And how does it hope to impact the space that this particular niche has in this country?
The first thing is that for us, IT is like fire. If you look back historically to the invention of fire, this is the invention that transformed everything. Mm-hmm. So for us, IT is the backbone of everything we do, teaching and learning and administration. So we use IT to help us design our curriculum, develop content. We use it for content delivery. And then we use it for research and innovation. Quite a number of our students and lecturers have come up with innovations, some that are being incubated now in other universities. Our product has impacted quite positively out there in terms of employment, in terms of job creation, and we get feedback from employers and the students themselves about how useful training in IT has been to them.
Mm. So as we look at COVID-19 and how it really did disrupt the learning process, whether it was from younger children going as high as the university and even higher than that, how did you as a university feel those effects? What did you see that changed?
Exactly 1 year ago, we closed the university. I remember it was a Thursday. And you see, at that time, we were in a state of panic. We didn't know what was going to happen, how we were going to get out of this situation. As it was a situation of hopelessness and helplessness. But you see, after a short time, we realized that we cannot continue sitting and mourning. Something had to be done because COVID-19 was not going away, and it was going to be a long haul. So Senate had to meet and agree on what to do. And a few months earlier, in 2019, our council had given management exactly 1 year to ensure automation of all operations, including administrative operations and teaching and learning. We had established a directorate of open, distance, and electronic learning. So we already had some infrastructure. We already had a structure. Then the good thing for us is that we had just won a funding from the National Research Fund of about 64 million for IT. And we had already procured some equipment. We had procured devices. So we had a point to start from. So the only thing we had to do now was to change the culture and attitude of staff. We started by training staff and students in a small way to offer classes online or through a blended mode. So we started with the continuing students. And when we closed, we had just about 3 weeks to go to exams. So we were still completing our laboratory sessions and students were revising. So for those from social sciences, the problem was not very big because they could access material online. The challenge was with those who had practical courses to complete. But all this said, we had to seek for partnership, and Commonwealth of Learning was quite handy. They gave us a grant to train staff at very short notice and to also train students in use of technology in a program that was referred to as technology-enabled learning. And that way we were able to keep our students engaged. And that is what gave us the confidence in September to admit first-year students who did their orientation and 3 months of studies online. They only came in December to do their exams, to complete the courses face-to-face and do their exams. Thank you.
As a university that, like you said, your primary school and department is computer and informatics, have you developed any platforms that then you can say, this is what we are using? We are not using other platforms. We're actually using an in-house platform to offer our online classes, be it audiovisual, be it a way of accessing the material from the university.
No, we've not been able to do that because, as you know, most of these platforms are controlled elsewhere. Connectivity is also controlled outside the university. So we have had no choice but to prepare our material. And now this material is planted on the existing platforms. And you see, these platforms also come with a cost. They come with policies. You have to pay, you have to sign agreement. So for now, we have not been able to innovate our own in-house platform.
Is there such a plan? Like with the lessons that now we are looking and seeing out of COVID-19, the experiences that we've seen, perhaps it's a very good opportunity to position Kibabii University as the one that offers this kind of solutions to other universities across the continent.
We are doing that because right now we've realized with the training we are giving our staff, they can develop content. And this content can also be, students can access this content through ERP. ERP is, of course, we have procured it from an external supplier, but we control it ourselves. So that is the closest we have gone. But we are still working on other innovations, can bring down the cost because relying on external suppliers, service supplier providers can be very expensive.
Could you explain to our listeners what an ERP system is and what it does and why it's integral to the plans that you have, please?
ERP is an enterprise resource plan. It's a software that automates operations. They could be administrative. If I can give the example of a student, this is an online software that can enable students to apply for admission, to register to be admitted. They can pay fees and it is reflected on their portals. They can get their results. They can get any communication through, even if it's through bulk mobile communication. But it is also a system where you can upload content for students and students can access it whenever they can, rather than rely on a system that students can only access when they have paid for and when access is allowed.
Do you use the same system for administrative purposes in the university?
We do. In fact, during the lockdown, particularly, all our meetings were online. All our conferences were online. Symposia were online. Communication was through this ERP. Processing of payments for service providers and suppliers, banking was through this system, and it made our work cheaper and very effective.
So do you think an opportunity then was presented that some kind of permanency would then be instituted because of what we were forced to do in the first place? So now, obviously, you've seen prices coming down. You've seen that you can get things done even if you're not moving, or rather face-to-face. Is it something that can then be adopted for the future? And not just when something is wrong?
Like I said earlier, our council, and it's documented in the minutes, had given the university 1 year to automate. And having gone through the COVID-19 experience, we have realized that things will never be the same. And the way to go is digital, is technology. The only thing we have to do now is to make that technology serve us in the best way and in the cheapest way. Otherwise, there is no other alternative. We have adopted that. Even now, we still have our meetings, although we have encouraged face-to-face operations. We still conduct most of our business online. We have embraced the blended learning approach so that even when students are on campus, they don't attend all the classes face-to-face. They attend some face-to-face, some are blended, and some are online.
When it does come to teaching, I think it was yesterday we saw some great pictures of some of the universities in the Stanford. It was Stanford University. We saw the great picture of an entire class taking place and everybody was on Zoom. Professor was in the room by himself. Do we see a situation where this can happen, where students can be anywhere really and teaching will continue?
This has happened. Our master's and PhD classes were conducted online, where a lecturer is alone at home or in his office, and students are scattered all over the country. We had our defense, master's defense of thesis and PhD defense of thesis online, where you have external examiners, the whole panel in different locations, but conducting business and very, very smoothly.
If you're at liberty, Professor, you mentioned that you do have certain innovations that are at various stages of incubation. Would you mention some of these innovations, or are they something that are still hush-hush and will only be mentioned once certain proofs of concept have been brought into being?
Yeah, I'll just mention the general.
Yes.
The general characteristics. One that we have is some smart device that can alert farmers on climate change, on weather, so that they can decide the right time to plant. It can also alert farmers on possibilities of, say, thunderstorm. The problem is we are not able to provide mitigation against, say, hailstones. But the farmers can know and anticipate what the situation will be. We also have innovation that automates feeding of chicken, so that the farmer does not have to be present to feed the chicken. The food can be loaded in some container, and there's a mechanism where if the amount of food on the serving plate is exhausted, then a valve opens and and more food, if it is pellets, drop up to the amount that is adequate, and then the gate closes again. So these are some of the innovations that we have.
What would be some of the challenges that you see students may face when it comes to, obviously, the technology that is needed to continue with their learning? Or are you saying that, or are we looking at a situation where everybody has what they need to continue with class if it goes virtual in any situation?
No, we have serious challenges, particularly with regard to students. Challenge number one is affordability of the devices. Not all students can afford smartphones or laptops. No, so that becomes a big challenge. And even those who have still face the possibility of expensive costs of bundles. Then, of course, we have unreliable connectivity. A number of times we have had meetings, and meetings have been interrupted by problems outside the university. So these are big challenges. We also still have the issue of attitude. I recall last year when we were admitting first-year students, a parent in Mandera said he wants his child to go to the university and meet the professor face-to-face, not through a laptop. And you see, we had to accept to organize special face-to-face, enhanced face-to-face learning for about 300 students who are not able to access online because of attitude of their parents and maybe themselves because mainly of the background they've come from.
Professor Isaac Ipara Odeo, the Vice Chancellor of Kibabii University, we thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Of course, you're aware of the big news that's coming out of the region, the death of Tanzania's President John Pombe Magufuli, and all the messages of condolences this morning coming from various people and sectors from across the globe. This is an opportunity for you on behalf of maybe your university to give a message to the people of Tanzania.
Yeah, when I heard about this last night, I was touched. I was deeply touched because this is somebody who was one of us. He was in academia at the University of Dar es Salaam before he joined politics. He's always been a very effective performer wherever he was. When he was a deputy minister and became minister, I've been following his performance throughout. So on behalf of council, management, senate, faculty, and staff and students of Kibabii University, I wish to send condolences to the people of the Republic of Tanzania, and more specifically the family of the late Dr. Magufuli. May his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We wish you a great day. Asante sana. Professor Isaac Ipara Odeo is the Vice Chancellor of Kibabii University. Asante.
Just a moment. Can you allow me a minute?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, may I take this opportunity to thank you for providing this platform for me to share what we are doing out there, but also to invite everybody who has time to our virtual graduation on Friday, 26th March 2021 at 10 a.m. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. And we wish all the best to all the graduates. Asante sana, Professor. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, 7 minutes to 8 o'clock. Time for us to take a break. We'll be back shortly on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, and online.
Spice FM, Malindi.
sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We thank you very much for tuning in wherever you are tuned in this morning, around the country or across the globe, on KTN Home, on Spice FM, online. We are having conversations, and of course today the big news out of East Africa is the death of Tanzania's President John Pombe Magufuli. It was announced by the Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan last night. She says that he had been admitted to hospital on the 6th of March at the Jakaya Kikwete Cardiac Institute. He was discharged the following day on the 7th. And on the 14th, he was readmitted at the Mzena Hospital in Dar es Salaam, where he succumbed to chronic atrial fibrillation yesterday. This is after 18 days of much speculation. Where is the president of Tanzania? He has not been seen in public. He has not been heard from. Leaders in Tanzania coming out in the last week, of course, especially in the last 1 week, coming out to say, no, relax. The president is well. The president, ignore those who are spreading rumors. And then, of course, it emerges that the president had been unwell since the 6th of March. So this tells you something about even the leadership. Those people who are coming out to say, and these are cabinet ministers, the prime minister, of course, must have known that the president is ailing. But the prime minister comes to say the president is very well. He sends his regards. There's the minister, Mogulu Chemba, who comes out to say the president is well. In fact, we are going to arrest anybody who says anything about the president being unwell. And obviously, it emerges that the person knew that the president was unwell. People have been arrested in Tanzania. There are 2 people who have been taken to custody, particularly because of what they had posted on social media, just asking, where is our president? Opposition leader Tundu Lissu have been asking these questions from Belgium, and is posting on social media asking, what's the health status of our president? Where is he? Why is he not being heard from? So when you ask all these questions, it raises the issue of, even as you were saying, CT, earlier, that yes, the death of such a leader is not announced immediately, but surely not 18 days.
Actually,
and the people who know the information should not be coming out to say the exact and direct opposite of what is happening.
Yes and no. You see, the question it raises is a simple one. And I'm going to go back to COVID.
Okay.
What is it that we know about how our heads of state are actually medically treated or looked after? What do we know? What is it that countries on this continent, in this region, have in place when it comes to the possibility of our leaders who are human falling ill and needing treatment? What do we do? Why do I ask this question? I ask this question because if that is something that is understood, we don't necessarily need to know the details. But that it is in place is something that needs to be understood.
That there's a protocol in place.
There is a protocol in place, so you know exactly what to do. Now, if somebody has a condition, all right, the one that is attributed to the immediately late president of Tanzania, where the upper blood vessel and the lower don't seem to coordinate. And this arises in rapid heartbeat. So the problem is, your blood flow is not adequate. Now, what also that means is you will probably suffer from shortness of breath.
Yes.
Okay? It's a condition that is known. It isn't something that has just been invented. And how to manage it through treatment, through medication is also known. Now, in the event of that situation becoming extreme, these are the questions that one needs to ask. And now with COVID, what did we have in place for ensuring that the leadership of this country are kept safe with COVID? I ask this because, one, they themselves have the responsibility of leading by example, and ours have led terribly, horribly, poorly by example.
But very simply, why couldn't they just say that he's not well? If anything, we heard the absolute opposite. Quotes very clearly, he's working hard in his office, which was a lie.
Not only a lie, patent.
Yeah.
The thing is, let's talk about relationships, shall we? In an African setting, I'm not going to talk about human, just African, okay? There are things that traditionally, socially, we know we never say it as it is. You always couch it. Now, there's something almost mythical, mystical, and almost superstitious about a leader and their health, all right? Look, in African traditions, for instance, children weren't allowed to even talk at night. They were not allowed to mention the names of certain animals, at least in my community, like leopards, at a night. Why am I saying this? The process of teaching children certain things involved scaring the living daylights out of them. Now, leadership on this continent for the longest time goes with that same myth. Leaders are not people you supposedly question. So democracy has really messed up with that particular trend.
You don't just come out openly and say this and the other.
No.
However, at the same time, I think it's irresponsible to say that he is well
and working hard.
When you
And
know
he's
he isn't.
not.
Okay, who said this?
It came
The
out of
Prime
his
Minister.
administration. The Prime Minister himself said the same thing, that he is well
Okay.
and working hard from his office.
That is why we in Kenya have a government spokesman, and then we also have somebody from State House, Kanzeden, I believe is her name,
Yes.
who from time to time will
Speaks
tell
on
us
behalf of State House.
There are certain things, again, the protocol you're talking about.
What do you say and how do you
Not
say it?
everybody who seems to have a high position should have the mandate to just say what they think.
Keep it right here. We continue this conversation in the next hour. It's now 8 o'clock.
Sugar 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so we're still looking at heightened levels of traffic on Mombasa Road today, and it's connecting all the way from the SGR through to General Motors. It's not looking really good today. Thika Road headed to town, slow on all lanes, but moving. Not a bumper-to-bumper situation just yet. All right, Globe Roundabout, it's hectic. Overpass, underpass, it's looking crazy. Why is there a problem on Kiambu Road today? Joining with everything, there's an accident on the bypass, and it's causing traffic all the way through to Muthaiga Square this morning. All right, so we're told to expect some rainfall later on today, and that's definitely going to affect traffic as we're seeing it. Industrial area, we're seeing that Likoni, Lunga, the construction continues. Enterprise Road has been closed, so you're going to have to use the Likoni interchange. It's also affecting traffic on Mombasa Road today, so everywhere you look, there's a spot of traffic. Uhuru Highway, then, from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout all the way through to Westlands, bumper to bumper, moving very slowly there as well. Heightened levels of traffic everywhere you look. Tell us, are you stuck somewhere? Are you looking for an alternate route? Perhaps we can share. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is 2.5
the
minutes
only
after
way
8
to
o'clock.
start-
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, the third hour of the show. This 18th day of March 2021. Live on Spice FM, live on KTN Home and online. Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and on Twitter. CT, today's proverb.
Even the fiercest leader in the world is overcome by sleep.
Even the fiercest leader in the world is overcome by sleep.
Everyone is human, simply put. Everyone. Even those who don't think they are. Even those who want to believe they are not are.
In the end.
Actually, even in the end is one lovely way of giving it a finality, but I would argue in the by and by.
Everybody is.
Everybody is.
Once again, news from Tanzania. Let's listen to what Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan announced on the TBC, that's the Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation, yesterday.
Kwa masikitiko makubwa nawajulisha kuwa leo tarehe 17 Machi mwaka huu 2021 majira ya saa 12 jioni tumempoteza kiongozi wetu shupavu, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, Mheshimiwa Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, ambaye amefariki kwa maradhi ya moyo katika hospitali ya Mzena jijini Dar es Salaam alipokuwa akipatiwa matibabu. Mheshimiwa Rais Magufuli alilazwa tarehe 6 Machi mwaka huu katika taasisi ya moyo ya Jakaya Kikwete kwa tatizo la mfumo wa umeme, tatizo la moyo la mfumo wa umeme ambalo kitaalamu linajulikana kama chronic atrial fibrillation, ambalo alikuwa nalo kwa zaidi ya miaka 10. Aliruhusiwa tarehe 7 Machi mwaka huu na kuendelea na majukumu yake. Tarehe 14 Machi mwaka huu alijisikia vibaya na akakimbizwa hospitali ya Mzena, ambapo aliendelea na matibabu chini ya uangalizi wa madaktari na wauguzi wa taasisi ya moyo ya Jakaya Kikwete hadi mauti ulipomkuta.
5 minutes after 8. We've heard what the Vice President said yesterday. So the Constitution clearly says in Tanzania that the Vice President is now to be sworn in to serve for the remainder of the 5-year term. And then she will nominate a Vice President who will need to get approval of 50% of members of the National Assembly to become her Vice President. So we are going to have Samia Suluhu Hassan, barring any changes, becoming the first female president in the Eastern Africa region. Now, we have got to ask ourselves this question. The rumors in the last 18 days have been about President Dr. John Pombe Magufuli contracting COVID-19 and the complications of COVID-19, having had this pre-existing condition of chronic atrial fibrillation, a heart condition, then leading him to get serious complications from COVID. The Vice President did not mention anything about COVID. She only said he was in hospital, taken to hospital, and this was a heart condition that he was suffering. You had said earlier, it's a heart condition, but it could have been affected by the other infection.
Actually, this really is it. If you listen to the messaging from WHO with regards to pre-existing conditions, it is with the understanding, this is not what's not said, that what will get you down is not necessarily COVID, but your pre-existing condition is what may damn you. Because if you have a pre-existing condition, it means your immune system is already compromised. Now, COVID, with the manner in which it attacks your body and with its focus on the apparatus that your body has for breathing, then you actually have a very, very serious problem on your hands if you already have a condition that lends itself to making your system unstable. It's not complicated. But then one could also argue almost every other disease, if not attended to in time, will have that same effect on you. Unfortunately, with those diseases, like if you die of malaria, we will not complicate it. We will say you died of malaria.
There you go.
Yes. If you died from liver failure, again, it could be an infection. But no one will mention, for instance, if it is an uncommonly consumption of certain products that don't necessarily agree with your renal system. People don't mention. They just say, this is what you died from. One, there's a stigma attached to certain things. HIV for the longest time, and still is, well, in a much reduced form, had the biggest problem. Not the virus, no, the stigma attached to it. And that stigma is what prevented people from actually dealing with it effectively.
But what caused the stigma? And if you ask me, what caused the stigma is the secrecy. The secrecy of the hushed tones that you take when you discuss this thing is what then made it very uncomfortable for anybody. In any case, that's what causes stigma on a very, very high level, is that nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody is swimming in all kinds of deniability. Nobody wants to come out and speak about it. So anybody who does, then you're looked at in a certain kind of way. The optics of this entire thing, unfortunately, doesn't look good, especially when you have other people in the country who could actually be saved from measures that they could take to take care of themselves. Now, this is not to say that the late Magufuli died from complications of COVID. What would help is if they said he did not. Do you see what I'm saying? If they came out and said, yes, he did pass on, or he had been sick with it, then now you start to open up this conversation a little bit. But right now, the optics, and even for the days that have just passed, the optics don't look good at all. When he had come out previously to talk about the fact that Tanzania would then produce its own in terms of masks and things like that, and was saying that, you know what, we're not even going to accept, or we're not going to invite tenders for, or rather, we're not going to invite donations for vaccines. We're not going to even start talking about measures put in place for COVID-19. We're going to deal with this on our own. All these things happening in rapid succession, and then out of the blue, we don't see the man. We don't see him. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't speak. There are rumors rife that he's unwell. Nobody says anything about it. If anything, we hear the absolute opposite, that he's actually doing well. Hale and hearty, working very hard in his office. The rumors are swirling, and they say there's no smoke without fire. Where did it come from? If for sure it was not, then you had many opportunities to snuff out that rumor and put it to bed. But then you leave it open, what's going to happen? You leave this whole big gaping hole, people are going to fill it with speculation and say, oh, okay, hold on a minute. He was in a particular place where he could have gotten infected with COVID. He has an underlying condition which would speed things up much more quickly. And then the man passes. What do you expect people are going to say? And here you have an opportunity where many more people could be infected with COVID in Tanzania. How are you going to be able to mitigate against that?
Let's say, Ndu, that the government was very proactive. That indeed, John Pombe Magufuli had not tested for COVID-19, had not exhibited any of the known symptoms of COVID-19. He actually had an issue with his pre-existing heart ailment. That he was actually taken to the Jakaya Kikwete Hospital on the 6th of March over his heart condition. And the government came out on that day and said, our president has been admitted with a heart condition. Do you think that would have stopped anyone from coming to say, heart condition is because of COVID?
But you know what would have stopped it? Because what did we hear the other day, for example, in this country, when opposition leader Raila Odinga fell ill? One of the very first things that we heard, even before the testing was done, is that we have not seen any symptoms. We have not recognized anything having to do with COVID-19.
It was
but
fatigue.
But tests are underway. As those tests then were done, what were we then told thereafter? Yes, COVID-19 test was done and it was found to be positive. Out there. So was there speculation? Yes, there was. But was it quickly snuffed out? Yes, it was. Because you were told he had it. Period. Then we move on. But you see, in this case, the rumors are swirling, especially around the leader.
Yeah. But I am asking. I'm putting a situation here where the government had actually come out on the 7th of March and said the president is in hospital. The president was admitted last night. He has just been discharged. Heart condition.
Yes.
Right? Would it have stopped Tundu Lissu, for example, from tweeting and saying, Kuna, heart condition what? It started with COVID.
It wouldn't have stopped it because you didn't mention it at all.
And that information spreading.
No, it wouldn't have stopped because you didn't mention it at all. You didn't say anything about it. And you're dealing in a position...
And that's what I'm saying.
You're dealing in a situation...
It does not stop people from adding into that speculation and saying, it's because of COVID. They're still trying to hide. He's trying to run away from the fact that he has caught COVID.
But you can't blame anybody because that is what you are in the middle of at the moment. It's not as if they pulled COVID out of the blue and said, let's bring it and discuss it here. That's what you're dealing with in the world, in the country at the moment.
So the point I'm making is doomed if you are, doomed if you're not. Right now, you fall sick, you're a head of state.
Take the bull by the horns.
You're a head of state. It doesn't matter even if you tell people, you know what, I hurt my big toe.
Use it. It doesn't matter. I hurt my big toe, but I was tested for COVID and I don't have.
In fact, the moment you mention big toe,
there'll be some COVID.
It doesn't
You
matter. I have a
open the
headache.
floodgates to all manner of things.
So you know that the floodgates are open, and what you want to, if you're really interested in making sure that that speculation then does not become rife, just say,
You see
I
what?
don't have.
You see-
I have been tested, or I do have. I was tested, because you're dealing with it at the moment. That's all that's swirling around in
But
these
what
murky
if you have
waters
not
at
been
the
tested?
moment.
It's a big toe. Doctor has no reason at all to test you for COVID. It's a big toe.
You know something?
They've not shared the information.
It is true. If you look at what we have been doing in Kenya, to the point where our Minister for Health comes out periodically to talk to us about this, we've helped destigmatize it.
There you go, putting it out there.
And the debate, whichever it is, has also been rife. Oh, the government is just doing this. Oh, this is this. But the Ministry of Health has consistently kept up with their information. So you cannot say, even if you want to, that they have not been updating you. They update you, whether
And
you
have
want to
normalized
or
the
not.
conversation.
Precisely. COVID is a normal conversation. And when people have passed away, we know people have passed away. We've destigmatized it completely. Now, in a country where, one, there is denial that COVID exists.
Completely.
Within the structure of government, we don't have COVID. And then if we do, we will sort it out. Meaning, you've snuffed any open discussion that may exist around COVID. What do you think? The conversation will continue, it will not just be in the open.
So it goes underground.
It goes underground and it becomes...
And it spreads more viciously.
My friend, it becomes viral and it's more vicious.
And then better still, you make it even worse that anybody who opens their mouth and wants to have a conversation about this, they're threatened. If you're having a conversation about what might be happening with the president, or where the president might be, or what he might be suffering from, you risk being arrested.
My friend,
you risk questions being asked about then your
you
existence.
are treading very, very close to the line of treason. You see, this is what happens because of the approach or the process that this particular administration has chosen to have.
Yeah.
Do you know why HIV was actually stigmatized? Because the primary mode of actual transmission was sex. We do not discuss sex openly in our societies. That's why we give it names. Bad manners, God knows what, God knows what. And then the same bad manners are the same this. So we confuse our children with all these phrases and they don't understand. But we also found out over time that the biggest hindrance to the treatment of HIV was not even the patients. The health, they are human. They are Kenyans. They are Africans. They are, so whatever issues they had with matters of sex followed them into their jobs. So they had a problem with the same issue that the patients had. Now, can you imagine just how stigmatized the patient is going to be when the person who's providing you with care is sufficiently and adequately stigmatized like yourself? So one of the things that needed to be done was to help the healthcare workers understand that, folks, we need to deal with this thing first before you can actually help others deal with it. If you have deniability about a problem from the people who are looked up to provide guidance, what do you think is going to happen? The truth then becomes completely obfuscated in this discussion, so you're not really sure even what it is you're talking about. So when someone has a condition that has been described, that condition, if not managed, or sometimes even if you manage it, can simply go out of control. It is already an underlying condition. And what can make it go out of control? Just the job of being president. It is a stressful enough job without COVID assisting it in any way whatsoever. The unfortunate thing is that even if that is the case, those who will believe it or who want to believe it will be hard-pressed to believe it, given the background from which this discussion is now taking place.
For sure. And that narrative came wind-assisted when the same man, without not just once, twice, or three times, came out very clearly and said, this thing doesn't exist. We've prayed it away. God heard us in 2020 and this thing went away. Now here we are in 2021. We're going to go into another 3 days of praying and God is going to help us yet again. Do you see? That narrative then is assisted by such things. Now, if you want people to carry that particular truth then which you're wielding, and then at the same time you come and tell them, no. He's not sick. He's actually well. Why don't you tell them at the same time that even if he is unwell. He does not have COVID. We have tested and he's fine. There's so many things that you do just with that one statement. And unfortunately, if anything, it has made things more dangerous. Right now, with anybody who might be sick, if the entire country is suffering from this issue right now, how do you think then they're going to deal with it today? Today. If it was so hidden and it was so shrouded, nobody wants to really talk about it. You could even get in trouble if you talk about it. How then are they going to deal with it today, even if he was still alive today? How?
Let's look at the chronology of COVID-19 in Tanzania as recorded and also from statements by the president of Tanzania. So on the 16th of March, just 3 days after Kenya got its first case, Tanzania announced its first case of COVID-19. It was a 46-year-old man who had come back home from Belgium. On the 17th, schools were shut down. Later, sports events were stopped, border crossings halted, numbers in restaurants and bars restricted, public transport operations ordered to carry fewer passengers. Churches and offices, however, remained open. The 22nd of March, President John Magufuli declared that COVID-19 is the devil and it cannot survive in the body of Christ. On the 31st of March, the first death was recorded in Tanzania and announced. The first recovery was also announced on the 26th of March. On the 4th of May, Magufuli declared that a popo, a goat, and quail had tested positive for COVID-19, and he was raising questions about the veracity of these testing kits. And then, on the 29th of April, Tanzania released COVID-19 numbers, putting total cases at 509 and 21 deaths. And then on the 8th of June 2020, Magufuli declares Tanzania COVID-19 free. Let's come to January this year. Denmark announced that 2 of its citizens who had visited Tanzania tested positive for the South African variant of COVID-19. February, Magufuli called the latest spate of deaths in the country a possible test from God and asked citizens not to panic and called for a 3-day fast. February 20th, the WHO Director General sends a statement asking Tanzanian authorities to share information on public health measures and preparations for vaccination. A day later, Magufuli said the government has not forbidden the wearing of masks and those who want to can. He, however, warned against using imported masks and instead asked citizens to make their own. He admitted that some of his aides and family members had already contracted COVID-19. 22nd, Public Transport Authority says passengers would not be allowed to board without wearing a mask. February 22nd, same day, Finance Minister Philip Mpango speaks to reporters while coughing and gasping for breath to dispel rumors that he had contracted COVID-19 after a spate of high-profile deaths linked to pneumonia and an unspecified respiratory illness. On the same month, February, Health Minister Dorothy Gwajima, who previously urged citizens to use steam inhalation and vegetable smoothies of onions, ginger, lemons, and pepper, issued a statement warning people to take precautions to fight COVID-19. 25th of February, Kenya denied its athletes clearance to participate in the Kilimanjaro Marathon over virus fears. March this year, on the 5th, Tanzania installed steam booths in main referral hospitals where patients were paying about 200 shillings per use. And then on the 9th of March, media reported that Magufuli had been admitted to hospital in Nairobi. That's where speculation started. Where is President Magufuli? This, now we know, is 3 days after the president had actually gone into the Jakaya Kikwete hospital and been released. This is what was happening. The president himself, on COVID itself, this is what he had first said on COVID and deaths.
Ndugu zangu wa Tanzania, tusimame na Mungu. Kufa tutakufa tu. Unaweza ukafa kwa malaria, ukafa kwa kansa, ukafa kwa magonjwa mengine kwa
Death is inevitable. That was a message from the president. Death is inevitable. And on the issue of masks, this is what he said.
Ndugu zangu, nchi nyingi zimeanza kuvaa barakoa. Nenye ni mashahidi katika vyombo vya habari. Nchi hizo ndizo zinaongoza kwa watu wengi kufa. Wengi, maelfu. na ndiyo maana mtaona wagonjwa wengi ambao wameathirika na magonjwa haya ya corona wako mjini.
All right. So that is what the late President John Pombe Magufuli said about masks. There are very many countries that people are wearing masks. I'm not saying don't wear masks, but be very cautious and careful. I am your president. I know a lot of things. I have a lot of information that you are not privy to. Trust me. Trust me. That's what he was saying. 24 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Time for us to take a break. And then we come back and have a conversation with the Tanzanian journalist, Ansbert Ngurumo. We'll be looking at the years of President John Pombe Magufuli. What is it that he was doing? What he was saying in public versus what maybe other members of the government have been saying with regards to COVID-19, with regards to his own administration. He has been called, a very strong-armed man, a tight-fisted person who was basically the leader of Tanzania, and he had just gotten re-elected. Time for a break. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads and also look at the weather forecast for several towns and cities in Nairobi, in the country and around the world. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you ready for the glitz and glamour? Ready to turn over a whole new page? Ready to experience a showcase like no other? We're about to welcome a new face, known, loved, and trusted by millions. On paper, it's huge, but its impact will be even bigger. So roll out the red carpet, position the lights and the cameras. Get ready to kick off the action. It's written in the stars and definitely one for the front pages. Don't miss out. Stay tuned.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFM KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. The weather with Spice
All right,
FM.
so the sun will come out later in Nairobi today. It's mostly cloudy right now at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 16. Sunny conditions in Nyeri at 15, highs of 24. 27 will be the high in Nakuru. It's sunny right now at 16. Mostly cloudy at 15 in Eldoret, highs of 26 and lows of 13. 29 will be the high in Kisumu. It's 20 degrees and mostly cloudy now. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kakamega, highs of 28 and lows of 16. 26 will be the low in Mombasa. It still continues to rain in some parts. We'll go to highs of 32 today. 32 will also be the high in Malindi. It's mostly sunny at 27. Mostly sunny in Kampala at 22, going to highs of 27. Light rain in Dar es Salaam this morning at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Partly sunny in Johannesburg at 15, highs of 25 and lows of 13. And rain showers in Lagos at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 26. Kinshasa is partly sunny at 23. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
All right, so yes, we're still looking at high traffic on Mombasa Road. We're looking at it in and out, guys, and it's affecting the Southern Bypass outbound, inbound as well on the Southern Bypass, right around that new bridge. It's going to cause some issues today. Coming off of Enterprise Road, rather using the Likoni interchange today. We're seeing high traffic. Enterprise Road, absolute other mess. Okay, so the train from Mbakasi this morning was a no-show. People didn't know what was going on, couldn't use that, so everybody has to use other sources of transport. Sorry, if you are wondering where it is, it's not coming. So you might want to keep it moving this morning with another source. Sorry, but that's just what we're looking at right now. Bagazi Way, right before the KDF Memorial Hospital. There's some construction going on there, so it's slowing down quite some. It's smooth from James Gishoro in Lavington through to Wayaki Way, not a problem there. Naivasha Road today, a lot of traffic, and then that's joining with Gong Road. So we're going to take a look at that, keep an eye on that, and let you know what's going on. SpiceFM KE, talk to us, text us on 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Half past 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The conversation continues right here in the Situation Room. CT Muga, Nduoko, and Eric Latif with you in the studio. And as we have a conversation about the death of Tanzania's President John Pombe Magufuli, let's now link up with the Tanzanian journalist Ansbat Ngurumo, who joins us on the line. Ansbat, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, we are passing our condolences to the people of Tanzania over the death of the president, the head of state.
Thank you.
Now, Ansbat, as a journalist, you have covered not just the administration of John Pombe Magufuli, but other administrations as well. In the last couple of days, the president had not been seen in public for 18 days. And then there was all this speculation and rumors that started in the country and in the region and spread around the world on the whereabouts of the president. What is it that was happening in Tanzania at the time that would then make it impossible for people to have an open conversation about their whereabouts and the health status of their president?
What has been happening in Tanzania for the past 2 weeks shows clearly the type of regime that John Magufuli has been running in Tanzania. It's a regime that is not open, not transparent, and the kind of person he was. Because to me, if you ask me what a kind of leader he was, I say he's a one-man show, sadistic, narcissistic. I may sound a bit negative, but this is what I see in him: brutal, violent, corrupt. In fact, Magufuli has always been a leader of those qualities, and we could call him a bully. So, if you understand, he has his own position on COVID-19, and this is what, in fact, caused the whole situation, because we knew he was diagnosed with COVID-19, and there is no way they could say the president has been diagnosed with COVID-19. But again, it has been the culture of the government of Tanzania not to speak up when people fall sick, especially, the leaders. If I remember, even before Magufuli, I remember 1999 when Nyeri was hospitalized at St. Thomas Hospital in London. It took a tabloid to break the story. The difference between then and now was, after the news was broken, the government spoke up and they kept briefing us on the developments of the health of Nyeri. Recently, we lost former President Benjamin William Mkapa. The nation was never told about his sickness and hospitalization. We were just abruptly told that he passed away at Mzena State Hospital. And then, in this period, we have been having people who have been, dying of COVID, especially those people close to Magufuli, including the Chief Secretary, John Jazi, we were never told that he was sick. We just came to learn of his demise when he was already dead. Even with the Maalim Seif of Zanzibar, it wasn't in the interest of the government to tell the people. But because Maalim has always been in the opposition and he has his position about COVID-19, he himself broke the news from his hospital bed that I'm diagnosed with COVID-19. They were not going to tell us. So it's not a surprise that they were hiding Magufuli's, condition and whatever he was going through. They just, because he has always portrayed himself as somebody beyond the mortals. He's someone who cannot fall sick, someone who is always above every power, someone who is always invoking the name of God and telling them this is the way to cure corona in this country. Wipe it away out of Tanzania. So how does such a man fall sick? I think this is what was troubling them. But we knew he was sick. And of course, to be precise, I am the person that broke the news through my tweet. But I didn't break it like saying he was sick. I just asked them, where is Pombe Magufuli? Because I knew what was happening. I just wanted them to say it. And then it was viral, and everybody started asking about it. They kept hiding the news, and luckily enough, I had sources on the ground, even from his office, that were informing me of what was happening, and that's how I kept the world informed about what was happening through my Sauti Kubwa blog.
And what did you know him to be suffering or ailing from, Ansbert? By the time you found out that he was unwell and asked this question, then on social media, then they must have told you. Well, I'm going to ask what they told you that he was ailing from.
Of course, it was COVID-19. That's what they told me. But he has always had heart problems. He has a pacemaker. So it exacerbated his condition. So then he developed a heart attack. And that's how it got worse.
But if I may just add, I am going to ask you that beyond the sources, I guess as a journalist, you want to keep the confidentiality of your sources. But beyond your sources, is there any other evidence that you can produce to say that actually this is what happened?
Of course, the only evidence that has produced itself is his dead body.
Yeah.
There are certain things that you can question. And suppose if he were not dead now, they would be calling me a liar because they will be saying, "Where is the evidence?" First of all, they were even until yesterday they were saying he was not sick because the prime minister, the prime minister and the vice president were telling people, lying to people that the guy is strong, is in office working. 3 days ago, the vice president was telling people in Tanga that she had spoken to the president in the morning that he was sending his regards to them. This guy was already dead almost. So if we were not dead now, they would be calling me a liar. But now, he's the only evidence that you can show the world that he was sick.
That they would, but if you look at the condition that your president, as stated by you, had, and also as stated by the vice president, the likelihood of somebody with that condition dying is 4 times higher than any normal person. 4 times, without COVID, without anything. So, again, I'm looking at this matter from the perspective that the chances of his mortality were already higher, by virtue of the fact that he had this condition, COVID notwithstanding.
Sure. But of course, some issues are medical, are more medical than journalistic. If you go into my website, yesterday I published a story about his wife also having been diagnosed with COVID-19 even before the president himself. And I remember, like 2-3 weeks back, he had a public rally somewhere in Ubungo, Dar es Salaam. The president was coughing profusely as he was speaking, with his microphone in his hand. He was coughing profusely. And then I came to learn this week that even his wife had been diagnosed with COVID before him. And she has not been seen in public for more than 50 days. So these And he's not immune anyway from COVID.
No, he isn't. Actually, no one is, to be precise.
Most people close to him have passed away, including his chief secretary, the main person that he stays with all the time in the office. So it was obvious that by the way he was behaving with COVID, he didn't care. He was behaving like someone who is above everything. In fact, some people started even speculating about him having been obtained a vaccine from Chinese who visited him in Chato some weeks ago, because how can he be so careless about this thing? And he's telling other people even to put off the mask. When people are coming with masks to church, and after the service, in fact the last service he attended in church, he was even a retired judge with his wife that came up. They were having masks on, and then he was even sort of laughing at them.
He was mocking them, basically.
Surprised. And to everybody's surprise, after the service, when they went out of the church, the former judge of the High Court put off his mask to speak to Magufuli. I don't know what he was trying to show.
If I may ask this question, I hear, but in the public domain and the utterances that I have come across, I haven't come across any where he publicly said, do not wear masks. He cast aspersions, he doubted them, told Tanzanians to use masks that were produced locally. He cast aspersions about masks and any COVID-related safety measures that came from abroad. But do you have evidence of him directly telling the people of Tanzania not to wear masks, not to observe the protocols that WHO had put in place for to ensure safety against COVID?
There are many evidences, but the two that I can mention that are very much vivid, you can even Google it. Last year, in the last parliamentary session, before the last election, during the first wave of COVID-19, he openly spoke against masks. Openly, you can Google it. You can Google that one. He openly said masks should not be worn because there is no COVID in Tanzania. So why should you wear masks when there is no COVID in Tanzania? And he even ridiculed women about the look of masks and in the bra. Those words that are not tasteful, and that's one. You can Google that. But what evidence do you want to have on the table than him telling the Chinese the Chinese prime minister who visited him in Chato? He was bragging about him not having a mask on, and he was telling, you see, even the prime minister, my guest doesn't have mask. Is that not evidence? He didn't want mask. People to wear mask. Three, all the public gatherings, all the public places that he went to, with his assistants and ministers, he always bragged about, look at my assistants. They don't have masks. They don't wear masks. Even in the last service that he attended in the church, he was mocking the judge and showing them that, look at my assistants. They don't wear masks. So, in fact, this version that you are giving me, that was the latest version when it was always like coming to the point of saying, yeah, we can use them, but previously he has been completely against anything to do with masks, sanitizers, anything that was being advised by the WHO. That's why he became a story, in fact. Because he was the only president in the region that was having his own ways of tackling COVID by saying it does not exist in Tanzania.
We're having a conversation with journalist Ansbert Ngurumo, who runs the Sauti Kubwa blog. He's a veteran journalist in Tanzania, covering the issues and the health status of President John Pombe Magufuli, among the first people in Tanzania to raise questions about the whereabouts of the President of the Republic. And you say that you had your sources, even some who are close to the office of the president. Just tell us what information you had at the first time. By the time you were going out the first time to ask, where is the president? What did you know? What had you been told?
By that time, I was not given the full story. What I was given was the president is sick. But no one is going to break this news because the media cannot break it. No public official is going to say it, but the public must know the president is sick. And the evidence was he had been scheduled to attend a service at Tanzania front of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. And when you schedule such a thing, it's public already because the ministers know about it.
Yep.
And his guard, his assistants at the State House were already, prepared for that. And suddenly, his personal doctor came in. So when the doctor came in, they kept waiting until the time was, it was like they cannot attend the first service that they were planning to. So they kept waiting until even the time for the second service was over, and they were told, no, he has been told to have a brief rest.
Okay.
From that moment, he was given a brief rest. They never set their eyes on him.
So the officials did not see the president?
Some of them did it because it was top secret.
Asbert, you had said previously that this is the way things had always been done, that when you had in Tanzania, a president is unwell, it would be an external source that breaks the story, but usually things are kept hush-hush. Why is that? And is that a culture? Is it a tradition? Why is that the case?
I can't really say why, because it would be such a difficult question to answer. Why? But I've seen it. The only exception is former President Jakaya Kikwete.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when he was diagnosed with prostate, he was taken to hospital in America, and he told the world where he was, what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
We knew everything from the media because the Directorate of Communication from the State House was briefing us regularly that he was sick. Again, Mkapa, when there was some time when he had a hip problem and was hospitalized in Switzerland, he even wrote about it in his book. They told us he's sick, but they didn't go into detail. And because he wanted to look like I'm fine, Mkapa had a tradition of having monthly, speeches to the public every end of the month. So all the time he was in Switzerland, he prepared his speeches for Tanzania. He wanted us to know he's fine, and he did well. But at the end of his life, when he was already retired, and when he was compiling his book, he put a note that he thinks the type of briefing that he gave to the people was not the type of information that he thinks now, looking back. He thinks that wasn't it wasn't good enough. It wasn't. He didn't give details, so people kept speculating about his health even after he had given information to the public. In fact, some people even joked about him having had a fight with his wife. Those things, because of the flow of information was not very, very smooth, and some details were missing.
Sure.
Kikwete was a very complete exception.
There are different narratives coming out right now that he did suffer a heart problem, and that is the reason why he died. There are others who say that he died from complications having to do with COVID-19. In your opinion, from what you've seen and how clear you have studied the landscape of the country, whether socially or politically, Ansbert, how do you think this will then help with the obvious COVID-19 situation in the country of Tanzania today? How do you think they will deal with this going forward? Whether he had it or not, whether he died from it or not, and the manner in which he handled it, how will it help today now with the situation?
I think the only consolation is that he's gone. The incoming leadership will definitely learn from his mistakes Because when I look at Samia Suluhu, the vice president now, this is a composed leader. She's calm, she's calculated, she's diplomatic. She's a complete opposite of Magufuli. And I know she was also going through fire, becoming his vice president. So I think she would like to set her own legacy. And she sees what is happening. She knows what has been happening. And she clearly knows why the president is dead. Certain things will never be disclosed to the public. But they know. And I've been seeing even a change, a trend of change, even in recent days. Like 1 or 2 days ago, the Minister for Health was officiating at some event. I saw for the first time government officials having masks, which normally doesn't happen when the president or the minister is there. The minister herself was not having a mask, but most people attending from the government, for the first time, most of them had masks on. So I think the new leadership may take some lessons from the mistakes of Magufuli and change codes to protect the lives of the people. Because, in the last days of his life, when the bishops were telling the congregants about the necessity to wear face masks and keep distance and keep washing their hands and sanitizer, Magufuli was speaking a different language. But now we understand who was right and who was wrong. So even that one is a lesson that may be a base for the next move as we mourn his demise and we put him to rest, and then because life has to go on, but with a lesson.
We want to thank you very much, Ansbat, for speaking to us. Ansbat Gurumo is a journalist in Tanzania, has been covering Tanzania and news in Tanzania for many years. As we conclude this conversation, I just want to ask you this one question. What is the situation like in Tanzania with regards to COVID and hospitalization or people seeking treatment for anything that appears to be related to COVID? There's been a lot of rumor that their hospitals are full, that people are really seeking treatment, that there's very widespread infection of COVID-19 in Tanzania. What have you seen?
From the distance, from what I've been covering for months now since the pandemic erupted in Tanzania, I can tell you, myself personally, have lost more than 20 acquaintances and close people that I know in villages and in towns. I have friends in parliament. They tell me, they even mention names of who and who have been diagnosed, sick, hospitalized. But of course, it is confidential unless you are a high-profile person. They're not going to bother about that. So many people, so many high-profile officials in Tanzania have been diagnosed, have been sick, and they have been under treatment. And if you ask, you don't have to even guess. Just go to hospitals. We know some hospitals that but some people don't even want to go to when they're sick because they know this hospital is infamous. It's notorious for this. So the situation is, in fact, just like in any other place, the situation is not as good as people think it is because of the position that we held that there is no COVID. We gave COVID-19 a moment of incubating and then spreading. Mind you, we had a general election also.
Right.
And all those, they contributed so much to the spread of the virus. So I hope the Minister of Health is aware of that, and I am very optimistic about the incoming leadership of Tanzania. I'm very, very, very optimistic because I'm seeing a different person in the presence of Samia Suluhu, and because our constitution is presidential, her personality and character will determine the type of government that she's going to lead.
Right. Asante sana, Ansbat Ngurumo, for speaking to us.
Nashukuru sana ndugu yangu.
Asante.
At 7 minutes to 9 o'clock, we want to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home who've been having a radio experience on TV. But you can tune into SpiceFM 94.4 in Nairobi or Mombasa 87.9, Kisumu 102.5, 96.0 in Nakuru, Eldoret 96.7, 90.9 in Nyeri and 97.7 in Malindi. In the next hour, we want to open up the phone lines on our social media platforms for you to call and share with us what you make of the presidency of John Pombe Magufuli, especially looking at the last 1 year of President Magufuli, how he's treated COVID-19 in the country, the management of COVID-19, and also just how he has run the country of Tanzania. Good morning. Right. 3.5 minutes to 9 o'clock. As we continue the conversation, let's just remind you that today is Thursday. It's third day. It's the 18th day of March 2021. From today until 21st, that's the Sunday, 21st of March, the Magical Kenya Open takes place at the Current Country Club. And this will be live on KTN News and on standard digital platforms. This is part of the European tour. We're going to have a double header. This continues from today until Sunday, the Magical Kenya Open. And then from Tuesday next week, we're going to have the Kenya Savannah Classic, Tuesday the 23rd to Friday the 26th. Make sure you tune in to KTN News and our standard digital platform to watch this, because you cannot attend the event as a spectator due to COVID-19 protocols.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
But says the good news is that the president is dead.
Consolation.
The consolation is that the president is dead.
Yeah.
I heard it. I'm still digesting it.
You're African. You are very African.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It doesn't matter what. You cannot say that good riddance.
No.
Cannot speak ill of the dead.
No. If he had left office, if he had been impeached, yes. When someone passes away, it introduces a completely different conversation. We do not speak ill of the dead.
Okay. But don't you think that the people like him have, had a collective sigh of relief? And if that's the case, why not just say it?
From where he comes from, yes, one could say it's justifiable. All I'm saying is that when somebody has passed away, we also have a tendency of forgiving whatever it is that he may have done or what we may have considered to be wrong. Because already, if there was justice and you want to call it that, it has already occurred. Meaning, the consequences of the decision-making process that we speak of, and if we speak of adversely, we can say, well, we can see how it has ended. So justice, if I were to argue using the same sort of thinking, has been served. But that doesn't mean it is a situation in which I will then
come out openly and say,
no.
No, listen, I think it's still frowned upon speaking ill of the dead. But then at the same time, others who look at this and say, you know what, now you can actually, it seemed to be that whole hold up of breath for the longest time. And that people were not allowed to say what they felt, think what they felt, express themselves in any way, shape or form. And then here you have people, I mean, tons of people. There were those who willy-nilly were saying whatever they wanted. It really didn't matter. But then there were those who were waiting for that moment to say, okay, now we can speak. Now we can really say what we thought. And whether that includes speaking ill of the dead, whether that includes speaking ill of how he operated, they're going to take that opportunity to do this, to say it now. And within hours of his death, people are going to say what it is that they felt.
Yeah.
Without necessarily taking into that taking into consideration that traditional way of doing things or not doing things.
So phone lines are open in the next hour. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still some on major highways in Nairobi this morning. We're still looking at high traffic on Mombasa Road, in and outbound today, and it's gonna last for some time. So then let's look at Jogo Road coming off and joining Landis, and then into the CBD, quite some as well. Coming out of Westlands, also industrial area, no-go zone right now, especially outbound towards the city. If you don't have to be there, please don't. But if you're stuck in there, it's going to be some time, and we ask that in all things you be extremely careful, guys. Let's look at the southern bypass in and outbound also, especially right as you're trying to join Mombasa Road. That one we need to look out for. Yes, we know the Embakasi train did not show up today. Everybody else just needs to find another way to get out of this one. Naivasha Road, there's a big problem here today. Not quite sure what's going on, but traffic is then affecting Gong Road and then going in the opposite direction as well. Let's talk about it through the morning. We'll see what it looks like in half an hour. Hopefully it would have changed just a little bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can join us or talk to us via text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. CT, today's proverb?
Indeed, today's proverb. Even the fiercest leader in the world is overcome by sleep. Yes.
Even the fiercest leader is overcome by sleep.
Yes.
Okay. So we continue the conversation about John Pombe Magufuli, the late president of the Republic of Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania, Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. What is the legacy that John Pombe Magufuli has left? What is the legacy of John Pombe Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, the late president of Tanzania? 0719-012-600. Also, post your comments on our social media platforms, SpiceFM KE on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as Instagram. We want to hear what is Magufuli's legacy. A number of things that you can say about Magufuli. I have been one of the greater admirers of Magufuli in terms of, one, speaking up what he has in mind. Two, I think it's in how he was very clear on, I want to see things move. When he feels that things are not moving, he pushes the extra mile. For instance, a contractor who has not finished the job and he says, you know what, cancel this contract. Let's get someone else. Let's get this job done. Within a very short time, we have seen there's an SGR in Tanzania from Dar es Salaam to Bagamoyo, new big stations. We've seen the rapid transport system, the BRTs expanding. We've seen the railway being constructed. There's been some infrastructural development, which is not unlike TZ. Even the other president had infrastructure developments, but this one's taking place pretty fast. And also him coming to say, we are looking at the cost of whatever project this is. There are arguments that could be put. Was he following the law? Was he bending the law? Was he... We keep arguing here about our president appearing to have his hands tied when he says 2 billion shillings being stolen on a daily basis in this country. And we're asking, but you're the president, what are you doing about it? And then he's reminded, there's a law, my friend. You can't just go and say, I hear so-and-so has stolen, and therefore this is what's going to happen. When he attempted to do that, President Uhuru Kenyatta going to the National Assembly in an address and saying, I have gotten a report from EACC about certain members of my cabinet and therefore I'm relieving them of their duty. That is the much he could do. Those cases just have gone nowhere. In Tanzania, action.
But it lends itself to something else. You see, unchecked power, by its very nature, infuses a certain godlike complex in the people who exercise it. And they soon forget the very, very concept of boundaries and what it is that you're supposed to do. And with the time, that becomes the narrative that people talk of, see, and anything else that is positive that you have done is actually lost somewhere. There are many decisions that you can attribute to the president, which, as you correctly started off by saying, are extremely positive. For instance, John Magufuli's position on the natural resources of his country. He put his foot down to the flagrant, if I may call it, exploitation that the West have been recognized as being the forerunners of when it comes to resources and this continent. And the perfect example that we give is the DRC. Now, Tanzania also has resources that there are those who argue could match and even sometimes surpass DRC. And there's certain specific minerals that Tanzania has. I guess it's this region, because when you look at what the news that comes out, minerals that are used in these cell phones that we use, minerals that are used in other telecommunication devices other than just the phones, you find them in abundance. Now, as opposed to simply inviting people to actually come and exploit it, the manner in which he has gone about it is commendable. There are those who would argue it isn't, but well, that is why we have arguments. People have an idea that is for and some are against. But what seems to take center stage right now is the late president and COVID and his position on COVID. It has taken center stage, and anything else that you could discuss about the president and his decision-making process seems to have taken a backseat.
And you know, when we talk about legacy and in terms of the footprint left behind, oftentimes when we hear it, it's often alluded that it must have that it would have a positive connotation, and also by people who are consuming this particular information. You know, for people on one side of the divide, it would be that what we have is a stain on the minds of the world in terms of what Tanzania then did when it concerned COVID-19. That and look, it was the expressions of one man, but guess what? It then becomes the position of the entire country, by virtue of the fact that, you know, he was the kind of character that he was and said the things that he did say. It would be assumed that anybody else who then served under him and anybody who was led by him was of the same position, that this is the position that the president has taken, so therefore it is the position that the country has taken. Now, that, whether we like it or not, is going to be part of his legacy. That whether he ignored COVID-19 and said that there needs to be a Tanzanian solution to this problem, regardless of what it was. That's going to be there. Could it have been any better if he had chosen a different stance? How the country then would have dealt with COVID? We don't know because he didn't. We do not know because he did not. So even when we're talking about legacy and the things that he would have done, when we also saw stories of him going into offices and finding that people were not there, well, when you decide to show up, you don't have a job anymore. Things those things actually did happen. But in the most recent past,
they'll be blotted by this.
Exactly.
Let's go to the phone lines. Victoria in Eldoret, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Good morning.
What would you say is John Pombe Magufuli's legacy?
I can say that he was one person who had a principle.
Mm-hmm.
He is a person who had a good vision. Although, as human being, he had his weakness. And remember, in Africa, when somebody dies, we don't speak of the negative side. We normally talk of positive side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what he did right is a lesson to us who are alive. And maybe what he did, which was wrong in our eyes, then it's a lesson. And let's not continue condemning him, but let us accept him the way he is. You know, leaders come from God. And we, as a subject now, we have to give them support and also to give them guidance whenever they need from us.
Yeah.
And also, it's our democratic right to elect those leaders who are good. So, sometimes we elect leaders who maybe we know their character is not straight, and later we start complaining. So, I think that is a great lesson.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Victoria.
I heard in the morning you were having my VC.
From Kibabii University.
Yes. So, I was so much too precious, but I want to thank him, and also I want to thank you, SpiceFM. Thank you.
Asante sana, Victoria. Lovely day. Zachary in Nakuru, good morning.
Oh, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Zachary.
Morning, Zachary.
How is Japuji?
The Mwarimu is well.
Now you should consider coming a Jaquaz, yeah? And you put a signpost.
What is a jaguar?
Jaguar is a herds boy.
Yes, that is exactly.
Keeping the direction of your home.
Right.
Yes.
And keeping the direction of your home. And you also there down, you write he's a graduate, yeah? I hope you have seen that signpost. Now,
Yeah, it's been going around. Let's talk about Magufuli.
Yeah, now it is sad. It's a sad day. It's a sad day in Tanzania, in Kenya, in South Africa, and in Africa, yeah? One thing, the way I liked Mr. Magufuli is that he was first a comedian. I like laughing and I like people who make me laugh. And Magufuli was one of them, yeah? And I liked the way he was hands-on, especially when he was dealing with the Rezi people, errant officers, okay? But I came to suspect that he was somehow, he had fear. I don't know why. This is why he went to people in public places trying to actually make people believe that he is a god. He is no god, the average man, yeah? And his death actually illustrates that the world is a village, whether in terms of technology, whether it is a pandemic like now, the one that we are having. If you hear that something has happened in way far in is Siberia or those far places, Alaska, and you are in Korogosho in Nairobi, and you are told there is something that has cropped up in Alaska, don't say that is another world, that is Mars, it won't come here. No, but he ignored that, yeah?
Okay.
So ignorance has no place in the modern world, and we are moving together as a village, and we have to take seriously if you hear that somebody is an expert in this, is a professional in this field, yeah, do not ignore what he advises you.
Don't argue with them.
Don't argue, just follow.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Zachary.
Okay.
Mwalimu Irongo Amos.
Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Mwalimu. How are you?
I'm fine. Following you.
Asante sana.
Let me make a little contribution concerning the death of Magufuli. I wouldn't condemn him even for a minute. Not because in Africa we don't talk ill of the dead, but because I believe every person has their own weaknesses. And in regard to how he handled COVID-19, I also don't find any problem with that. I'm sorry to say so, because from where I sit, I've looked, I've tried to watch TV, listen to radio, read. There's nowhere in the world where they have found it right, where they have got it right in regard to how to deal with COVID-19. So whichever way he dealt with it, I don't understand why people condemn him so much.
May I respond to that just briefly as you continue?
Yes, please.
The position that is attributed to Magufuli was also attributed to the president of Brazil and the immediate former president of the US. And the position that they took, unfortunately, led to an unusual number of not just infections, but deaths of their citizens. And we know this because in the US, we'd hear about the infection rate and the death rate, same as with Brazil. In Tanzania, that information has not been forthcoming until very recently. So that is the reason why you will find there are people who condemn him. Because those two presidents have also been condemned by their own people for the decisions that they made on behalf of the populace that they rule over.
I stand corrected, although I would wish to know where the situation has changed much in those countries.
Like in America after the changeover of leadership.
Yes.
Well, see, those are some things that you have to look at. You see, unfortunately, to undo a situation is not something that is immediate. It is going to take time. So you can imagine if 500,000 people have been infected, 30,000 people have, 300,000 people have died, for example. If you look at something like that, it's going to take time to undo that situation. It's not to say that you're going to have a new person step in and a magic wand will be waved and the situation goes back to zero. You see? And those are some of the consequences or effects of bad decisions that you see. So even if somebody comes in and tries to, quote unquote, right the wrongs, it's going to take time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me agree to that, but kindly allow me also to pass my condolences to the people of Tanzania.
Of course.
Because one thing I have loved about Magufuli again is the way he dealt with corruption, the way he dealt with laziness and poor service to the people. Okay, thank you and good day.
Asante sana mwalimu. Have a lovely day. 16 minutes after 9, we want to hear from you. 0719-012-600. What is President John Pombe Magufuli's legacy? The late President John Pombe Magufuli, who had just begun serving the second term as president. What would you say is his legacy as president? Let's take a break. Let's see what's happening across the globe in terms of the weather. And also, we'll be sampling some of the comments that you're posting on social media, SpiceFM KE, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say.
Thank you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is SpiceFM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Well, all right. Mostly cloudy in Nairobi this morning. The sun will come out later, taking temperatures to highs of 27, lows of 16 today. It's mostly sunny in Nyeri at 17, highs of 24, highs of 27 in Nakuru, sunny conditions at 18. Looking at 18 also and mostly cloudy in Eldoret, going to highs of 26. 29 will be the high in Kisumu. It's mostly cloudy at 22. 22 is also the number in Kakamega. That's where it is currently. It'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 16. 32 will be the high in Mombasa, where it still continues to rain right now at 29. It's 29 29 in Malindi, but it's mostly sunny as well. Highs of 32, lows of 27. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala, 22, going to highs of 27 and lows of 18 today. It's cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 28, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Partly sunny conditions in Johannesburg at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 13. 30 will be the high in Lagos today. It's still raining at 25. It's partly sunny in Kinshasa. There's a chance of rain later, highs of 31 and lows of 23. It's sunny in Beijing at 9. That'll be the high for today, down to lows of 3. Mostly cloudy conditions in Paris at 4, highs of 8 and lows of 5, and mostly cloudy in London at 6, highs of 8 and lows of 7. -2 will be the low in New York. It's ringing in Thursday morning, cloudy at 6. It'll go to highs of 8.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
19 after 9. What is the late John Pombe Magufuli's legacy? Let's hear what people are saying.
Well, Sindano says President Magufuli was a no-nonsense action man, unlike his predecessors or other African leaders. He had an interventionistic approach, he says. We even had a "what would Magufuli do" hashtag, especially when people were disillusioned by convoluted democratic processes. Okay. Winnie says, I think the conversation should be, what has President Magufuli done to transform Tanzania? Has he left Tanzania a better place? They said people would fall like flies in TZ. They have not. It's not worse than in Kenya or Uganda. We don't have better leaders in Kenya. Okay. Vin Miles says he will be known for curtailing media freedom, adopting a pseudoscientific approach towards COVID-19, and intimidation of opposition leaders. Fred Choge says Magufuli was a servant. Our leaders should learn to solve today problems, not tomorrow. Okay, there's one in Kiswahili that I'm going to bite my tongue over. Maybe you can help with that one.
Rais Pombe kashatuacha. Kilichonivutia kwa uongozi wake ni alivyopambana na ufisadi, kujali maslahi ya utendakazi, pia kuwajali wanyonge. Huenda akawa na mapungufu yake, kwani hakuna aliyekamilika, ila mema yaliangusha kilo. Makiwa kwa familia na Tanzania. Basically says, passing condolences to the family and the people of Tanzania. What really attracted Willie to the president was his leadership, how he fought and confronted corruption, looking at how best to serve the people. And also, he says, although he had his weaknesses, they are not as many as his strengths.
Okay.
0719-012-600. We want to hear from you. What is President John Pombe Magufuli's legacy? He passed away yesterday. The announcement was made by the Vice President of the Republic, Samia Suluhu Hassan, who is now set to become the next President of the Republic to serve the remainder of the 5-year term. They had just been sworn in after last year's election, so they have a 5-year term. She will nominate a Vice President who will be approved by the National Assembly. At least 50% of members of the National Assembly approve the Vice President nominee, and that person becomes Samia Suluhu Hassan's next Vice President. Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, son. How is the station room?
Tuko salama.
We are well, thank you.
Ndu Oko.
Yes, sir.
Hey, got it right
well
again.
Done. You know what they say, 3 is a charm. Let's see what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah. Some around the year 2000, I used to go to for some business to Tanzania. And the way the country was then, compared to how Magufuli had transformed the country, he's done a lot. And my condolences to my friends and the people of Tanzania. As you've said there, I think this aspect of the way he handled COVID-19 is the one that might have seemed to have watered all the good deeds he did. But the best thing is, those good deeds remained to be seen. Doesn't matter how he handled COVID-19. What he did for his country will remain for years to be seen. So for now, you know, we have a very forgetful mind. So we'll talk about his way of handling COVID-19 now for the next 2-3 weeks. Then we'll forget.
Yeah.
and then what he has done will remain forever. And he's been a good guy for Tanzania. He loved his people, and he was their servant. And I wish some of our leaders could learn from him.
Okay.
About the journalist, the way he ended his conversation with you, I think these are a real man.
Who? The journalist?
We should
or the
not
president?
hide behind issues. If you hate someone,
Just say it.
say you hate him. No need coming cry crocodile tears at my burial. Think how you liked me, how you loved me, how I was good, how everything. Yet you hated me, yet you knew how bad I was.
Yet you're happy. I'm gone.
All as spoon as spoon.
Okay.
As paid as paid.
Okay.
Doesn't matter whether the man is dead or not. If you hate someone, say it.
Thank you,
And don't
Anthony.
even go to... Some people come to funerals just to confirm
That you are
if
killing.
you are really dead. And they make sure they even throw the soil to make sure you are gone for good.
Thank you,
I
Anthony.
think you should be who you are.
Asante. Karen in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today, Karen?
Okay, what I wanted to say is already said. Let's what Magufuli did right carry the day.
That's it?
That's it.
And what, in your opinion, did he do right?
Magufuli was a servant.
Explain.
You know,
Oh, we lost. We lost her. Benjamin in Eldoret is on the line. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, first, my condolences to the people of Tanzania and the President John Pombe Magufuli. Well, a lot has been said about Magufuli, but what I remember him about is that he was firm, he was in control, and then he was very presidential. Again, on the question of how he handled the COVID, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think you see the interest of the internationals, I mean, the owners of the vaccine and so forth and so forth. I think they had some, I don't want to call conspiracy theory, but I think they had issues with Magufuli.
Okay.
That is why you see the conversation now is on how he handled the COVID, but not how he ruled Tanzania.
Not how he handled the country.
How he handled the country, exactly.
Okay.
But again, I think it was wrong for the journalist. I agree with, I think, is it Ndu or Muga? On, we are African again.
Muga.
But you have differences.
Muga, the African elder.
I can see how you confuse both of us.
Thank you. You don't say, good riddance, he died. No. He was the president of the country at the end of the day. And COVID, there's still many other presidents about, but we don't know now exactly if he died of COVID. See, the conversation is about now Magufuli and COVID, died of COVID, which is not the correct position.
Which you don't know for sure.
Which you don't know for sure,
Okay. Thank you, Benjamin.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Mila in Siaya.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bad news for us. I want to admit that my instinct showed me that Magufuli had COVID. And it has been quite a bad day for Africa.
Mila, I really have to ask you here this.
His instincts.
What else do your instincts tell you from time to time? Because clearly, from what you're telling us, it can predict death. So,
Yeah, because when I was listening, you covered Somalia before.
Yes.
Over COVID.
Yes.
And the situation there was worse than any other country then. And the Kenyan border with Somalia is quite porous than the Kenyan border with Tanzania. And the level of criticism that we've seen in Tanzania across the world is worth criticizing and actually just
vilifying
saying what
the man,
the world
making him Sound like a buffoon.
Look like he knows nothing. It is for me. It is so unfortunate. I want to admit that I agree that I have a very strong feeling that Magufuli passed on with COVID. Magufuli did not deny that COVID does not exist, and he cannot deny because he knows he exists. You know, at his level, let us not say that Magufuli is quite ignorant. It is not fair, but. Not going into that, I want to dedicate a song to the people of Tanzania.
Are you going to sing?
Yes.
Okay.
Row, row, row your boat. Row, row, row your boat. Gentle down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Thank you.
Asante Mila.
Thank you.
Emmanuel.
Yes, Eric. Good morning.
Good morning.
How is the team?
Fine, thank you.
We've just been taking in a song, so we are fine.
Yeah.
My condolences to the people of Tanzania, first of all. And I think this gentleman, the late Dr. Magufuli, in his first term, he did what many head of state could not do, to sort their houses. Even though I admit that in this our country of ours, sometimes democracy might not work well. But at the end of the day, we need someone who has like dictatorship kind of mind so as we can move forward. Even though towards in the last elections of Tanzania, there were a lot of activities that maybe not everyone will be in agreement of.
That's
but
the dictatorship.
Yes, but this gentleman did a very nice job in Tanzania. He did a very nice job, and I think.
Can you just name maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that you can say? This for the first term of Magufuli's presidency. These are the 3 good things that he did.
That thing about natural resources of Tanzania, and following up with the contractors and finding out where projects are, because in our country, some projects even they can go up to 10 years and are not completed.
Yeah, and only 7 billion is lost.
It is only 7 billion is lost.
Completed, even started.
Number 2, number 3.
Number 3. Okay, I may not be having number 3 at the moment. Yeah, but let us give it up to him. Even though he denied that COVID existed, we don't know if it is COVID which took him. You know, our leaders, politicians, they cannot.
Since you favor the late president, let me tell you, one of the things he did was he bought 12 new planes for Air Tanzania just to ensure that he could actually revive that particular industry. He expanded the Julius Nyerere International Airport. The standard gauge railways are contributed to him. Then there was the Julius Nyerere Hydro Power Station. He did some marvelous work at the port of Dar es Salaam, put up a gold refinery plant. This thing of someone taking your gold and then go and refining it elsewhere, he said, Apana, we can refine this thing ourselves. But then there was something that people did not like him for, the austerity measures. That man sought to reduce spending and curb corruption. And he brought in austerity measures that had not been seen. And he injured and upset a lot of people as a result of it.
Okay, that's true. But you see, some of those measures, like banning foreign travel to some of those government officials, it really did save a lot of huge chunk of money to the Tanzania economy. Yeah, with some we might be in agreement with, some we might not be in agreement with, but let his soul rest in peace.
Asante sana, Emmanuel. Lovely day. President Uhuru Kenyatta has also issued an address, made an address, and where he has mourned the president of Tanzania, sent a message of condolence to the people of Tanzania and the people of the East African community. And the president has declared that Kenya will observe 7 days of national mourning and that the flag of the Republic of Kenya will be flown at half-mast from today until sunset on the day of the funeral. So Kenya's flag to be flown at half-mast from today until sunset on the day of the funeral, and Kenya to observe 7 days of national mourning. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta is the chairman of the East African community. Let's take a break, 26 minutes to 10 o'clock. Let's see what's happening on the roads, and then we take your calls again. What is President John Pombe Magufuli's legacy? We want to hear from you. 0719 012 600.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive, and of course,
Okay, still seems to be quite some on Thika Road, then getting out towards the CBD. It's slowing down a little bit, also on Mombasa Road, but it still looks like it's going to be quite tight, especially from the Likoni interchange. So we still see some traffic also on the southern bypass. Waiaki, there's been construction there for quite a while. It's going to take some time to get out of this one, but other than that, it looks much better on most parts this morning. Let's also look out for Uhuru Highway in and out of the city. Still some traffic there. Otherwise, traffic seems to be dying down quite some. Let's look through the day, what it looks like. Talk to us if you need to. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
10 o'clock, we still want to hear from you this morning. What is the late President John Pombe Magufuli's legacy? And as we do that, just to let you know that President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared 7 days of national mourning in the Republic of Kenya and says the Kenyan flag will be flown at half-mast from today, Thursday the 18th, until sunset on the day of John Pombe Magufuli's funeral, when it's announced by the government of Tanzania. He is the chairman of the East African community, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he has sent his condolences to the people of Tanzania. Back to the phone line, 0719-012-600. Benjamin in Nyeri. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine,
Very well, thank you, sir.
Yes, Ndu and Muga and Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Morning. It's my first time to call, so even it's first studio to be on air, first time in history, so I'm very happy. I always listen to you guys.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
Yes, I started listening to this radio station quite last year from the time of COVID, but now I'm a silent listener. Today I decided to call because I am one of the people who loved Magufuli.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, wanasema mugala muhuwe na haki umpe.
Kweli.
Yes, I admired his style of leadership because I stayed in Tanzania for quite a while. And I was privileged to know many other things. And one of the things that I can remember is the good one, of course. He helped Tanzanians work hard. Then there was that general view that Tanzanians are lazy. So he moved them from their sitting position to actually to work. And so one thing I didn't like about him is when he barred the girls who were pregnant
from going back to school.
From going back to school. That did not go well with with me. Yeah, and
But
many other things.
overall, you feel that he was a good president.
Yes, he had the country at his heart. It was for the good of the country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Benjamin.
Welcome.
Tumeshukuru sana. Oscar.
Thank you.
Oscar Ingong.
Yes.
Yes.
Greetings to you, Oscar. You know, you are a true Kenyan. It's only in Kenya where the word yes is a greeting.
Greeting, yes.
Mwalimu,
Kaka, hujambo?
nashukuru kwa kusikia sauti yako.
Mi pia nashukuru. Habari za leo?
Alhamdulillah.
Asante.
Now, before I say a word on Magufuli, first and foremost, I want to pass my sincere condolences to the United Republic of Tanzania. This guy was my hero. He was my hero from the first time he stepped into the office. You remember, he did from 2 visits. But the one thing that caught my sight was when he decided to cancel the festivities of a public holiday, put the money into hospital, because to him, that was the priority.
Yep.
The other things he has done, we can see them. I mean, we need not to be told. But I wish to say this, even the wisest man in the good book had his own fault. So we will get stuck at looking at the issue of COVID and what he said. Of course, many of us who supported Magufuli not approve of that position. But Magufuli will remain a leader who many of us in Africa would wish we had an opportunity to vote for. Because when we want to look at leadership, even those that we think made wise decisions, they did. If you look at us, we would say that was made not particularly like a Kenyan president, but many in the continent of Africa have made wise decisions in terms of how they handled COVID.
Yep.
But when you look at the nitty-gritties, many of them have eaten the money. So what wise decision did they make?
So they said, but they didn't follow it up with action.
Yeah. So for me, Magufuli will remain a hero, and as it has been said by another caller, many of our African leaders need to copy what he did.
Emulate what he
I
was
remember
doing.
Magufuli going into a meeting during the campaign times, and he stopped at a village, and he could call ladies and ask, Mama, what is your problem? There's this one lady who said, I lost my husband, a police vehicle knocked down this, and I followed up this case. This was a guy, a hands-on man. He called the provincial in charge. He asked him, what have you done about this lady's issue? And, you could see that if you weren't doing your job with Magufuli, that wasn't your place.
You're on the spot immediately.
Yes, and he pushed people to deliver, not only for the project, but even for issues that touch the small people.
Yeah.
But now, having said that, even as we thought that there was secrecy, as we were wondering, and people were asking all over, where is Magufuli? I was asking, where is my teacher?
Oh.
Spice, don't tell us anything.
Spice
Latif-
told you your
Latif
teacher
and-
is chilling with his feet up somewhere, enjoying himself.
No, Latif Endu kept us asking on the wall, where is Mwalimu? Where is Siti?
But we told
And
you where
nothing
he
came
is.
about.
You
So
just didn't
it
believe
is natural. It is normal.
Thank you, Oscar. Karaoke in Nakuru, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. How are you?
Good
Very well, thank you.
It's a long time.
It's been a while.
It's a long time. Anyway, I want to contribute towards the late president of Tanzania. What I can say is that he was a good president, he's principled, but sometimes even if you are principled, you ought to sit down with other people so that you can reason together. Because some of the things he ever said when he was president are not good. Because he has, in fact, he has forced his people, most of his people, to die as a result of ignorance. And I think it is better for a lesson to be learned by those who are at the helm of the nation anywhere in the world, including our president. Rather than doing things just because you are there, remember God can take away your president without even giving you a notice, as he has done to Magufuli. Sometimes it is better off to reason together with other people, rather than what our president today he is doing, forcing us to agree on things because of a motion that comes between two people, especially what he is doing today, changing the constitution without even involving other people. But what I can say about Magufuli, he was a good president, apart from he messed up very little. Because one, he did not agree to be told what to do by especially the foreign countries, you know. He was a good president. He stood the ground despite the tough opposition from the rest of the world.
Okay.
He was a good president. That's what I can say.
Thank you very much, Karaoke. Have a lovely day. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram. Let's sample some of the comments after we take this quick break. It's coming up to 9:45. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. What is the late President John Pombe Magufuli's legacy in Tanzania? And also, let's also talk about how he positioned Tanzania in the international community, from the EAC to the SADC to COMESA to the African Union and all others in the community of nations. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
To 10 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Comments on social media.
Right, so Tanzania president challenged the habitual and instilled ways of thinking as Africans, and that's what Willis Obanda says. Murray Morgor says, a brilliant leader whose only mistake was ignoring the number one law of power. Rest in power, Magufuli is what he says. Magufuli had all the ingredients of a president we need in Africa. Gangster Guru, he says, democratic up to a point and ruthless from that point. Corruption in Africa has learned to hide under democracy and rights. It has become a three-headed dragon. He advocated for the local industry, no sale of raw materials, and that was to external countries. According to Jonathan, he fought corruption. He transformed Tanzania development-wise. He was a strong believer in what he thought was right and tried to plant that. Had tried to plant that into those who he led. Maybe after his death, the true data of the pandemic in Tanzania might be provided to the citizens. That would be the legacy.
Brian says, Magufuli wasn't ignorant. He was willfully ignorant, which is worse. Still, I admired the energy that he had in lifting Tanzanians out of poverty, especially at the beginning. I'll leave the rest to Shakespeare. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones.
Well,
you know, the tragedy of legacies is only this. People will choose what suits their purposes to determine as one's legacy. It's very rare that, if I may use the word, a holistic approach is given to this matter. Because one, if you break it down, when it comes to human rights records, you'll find that Magufuli was wanting. The first election, when he was elected president, didn't have issues. The second one, the army came in.
Well, he was in charge.
Yes, people were, so we could argue, we now saw a side of him that we hadn't seen before. Okay? People were intimidated. And there are those who argue that intimidation continued. If you looked at how he dealt with the LGBTQ community, again, under human rights, if we were to use that same yardstick in judging many world leaders, you will find that the point of divergence, where now the negativity of his rule takes center stage, is probably just one or two things. With Magufuli, the Achilles heel was COVID.
Yes, unfortunately. And as you're saying that, Solayan says, his skeptical approach to a global pandemic cost not just his life, but the lives of his fellow countrymen and neighbors. His development record and zero tolerance for corruption will be just a footnote when history is eventually written. He shot his legacy in the foot by denying COVID-19.
You know, he didn't shoot it in the foot. Those are just the unforeseen consequences of the decisions that people make. Who could have foreseen COVID? Who could have understood COVID? If you look at an event that took place in the early part of the 20th century in his country, when the people of Tanzania decided to revolt against the forcible planting of cotton by the then colonialists, the Germans, what is then popularly known as the Maji Revolution. 250,000 to 300 people died, but those who were actually killed in combat were 75,000. The others who died from disease, died from starvation, died from just the circumstances of the war. But when the story is told, you're just given the numbers wholesale. And if we were to judge, if we were to look at the President Magufuli's legacy, we really have to look at everything that he did and ask the question, he wasn't ruling the country alone. Why is it that the people whom he was elected with and people who were in power, why did they not advise him accordingly? And if they did, how many people do we see as having consequences of having advised him against his own wishes? How many do we see?
How many stood up to him and said,
no,
President here?
No. This one you shouldn't do. You see, why am I saying this? I'm looking at our own president, whom in my mind is a patient man who gives people chances. What did we say? Lazy, indecisive. Okay, now when he takes action, dictatorial. In fact, dictator, imperialist. Okay, so which is which?
Well, unfortunately for this, that you never really will know the inner workings and intricacies of advisors and what they may or may not have said. Unfortunately, with somebody's character, then comes a judgment that you place immediately, that because of how you see an outward expression of whatever may have been happening behind the scenes, you would think that he was working alone. You would think that he would control the narrative. You would think that maybe he wasn't taking advice from anybody and that it is what he said that goes. By nature of his character, unfortunately, you will never know. You would never know if he was one to take.
Actually,
so if there is a negative taint on his legacy, it would be that he did it all by himself.
You know, yes and no. This is one of those yes and no situations in this sense. You are absolutely right. But then, is it then that we're saying that these are victims of an immature democratic system? Why do I say this? The German leader was considered a very strong leader. And she did something that many leaders had not been able to do in Germany. Remember, countries that had fascism at the center of their politics for a long time, the leaders who then followed determined that there would never be any party that was powerful enough to just rule the country on their own. So you have coalitions. Now, the negative side of it is you always have governments which keep collapsing.
Yeah, governments don't last.
Yes, because when people disagree, it collapses and you start again. But then Angela Merkel did something that was unusual. She managed to keep these coalitions together, which means she as a person was powerful and was able to bring people to a common understanding.
Persuasive.
Exactly. But she was powerful. Even she had attacked by some people as being dictatorial. But
that she was. Okay, go
See, strong personality.
If Angela Merkel was an African leader, I'm telling you, you'd have called her the strong woman of Africa. Dictator.
Yes.
But go on.
Why I'm arguing this is they have a political system that seems mature to accommodate it. And the proof of the pudding, the eating. The consequences of her strong leadership. The German nation came out to be the strongest nation in that European conglomeration.
Yeah.
And it is arguably as a result of her leadership. Okay? Now, why do I mention her? In the absence of a strong balance of power, again, she could have been exactly what you're saying. Now, our people seem to, for personal interest and otherwise, unwilling to stand up and say, Mheshimiwa, you are wrong here.
Are unable to.
Unable to.
Are unable to. Publicly.
Unwilling to, rather, not unable, unwilling.
Unwilling to, for fear of what would happen to you, and more so your career if you did. Not because you're really hinged on giving your opinion, because if you were and really didn't care and say, damn the consequences, I'm going to say this because this is what I feel is right.
Yeah.
It's more about the consequences of what could happen
To
for
you.
sharing your opinion. And I think that's now where the problem lies.
I don't actually
and
think
I think
it's
you can
unique
see the
to
same
us.
problem. I don't think it's unique to us. I think you could see the same problems having in Tanzania. You could see the same problems happening in South Africa, in Nigeria, across board. Because once you have an individual like that, interestingly enough, once you have an individual like that who is of strong character, the chances of somebody coming and opposing them openly are very slim.
Yes, they are slim, but we've had people opposing strong leaders. You see, it is unfortunate that the examples we have to give are in the West.
Standing up to the leadership. I think also it's with the development of the system. As we're saying this, I'm remembering the conversation we were having yesterday with Raphael Tuju, where he was saying, look, we are still trying to build something called a Project Kenya.
Yes.
There are very many circumstances and things that, we don't want to admit, but it's the truth and the reality that we are in. I think if you look at the West, for example, by the time a leader is standing up to their leader, by the time somebody is standing up to their leader, is because they know that they've got a system that will back them.
Absolutely.
Someone knows that I'll stand up to President Trump because I know that the Congress or Senate, there'll be somebody else who will stand up and say this with me. In this country, you don't have that. When Mother Karua tried to stand up against what she felt was, a system that wasn't moving in the Nusumkata government, she was alone.
She was. She
was
found herself
just alone. And that was just, people will say, I have chosen politics as a career. Do I want to say, okay, I'm going to stick my head out of here and lose this? Or do I want to make myself a very calculated leader? There's a conversation that I was in a group with the former Kibra MP, the late Ken Okoth. And we'd have very many conversations and, standing up and saying, but you guys, why aren't you standing up to the leaders? Why aren't you standing up to the leader of the party on the things that you say that, you don't feel like the party is taking the right direction? And a comment that Ken Okoth made and really, really struck a chord with me was, you know what? I want to play in this team. I want to play the match. The only way I'm going to make sure that my people get what I feel they deserve is if I'm on the pitch. Now, if I start arguing with the coach, I'm removed from the pitch.
That's it.
That's it. What I wanted to do for my people will never come to fruition. I've got to make sure that I know everything else is I'm in good books with the coach so that I'm on the pitch. And also I'm in good books with the captain so that the other players can accept to pass the ball to me. And that's it. It's those circumstances. So what is greater? Is the greater thing what you were promising your people, the reason that you joined politics? Or is the greater thing wanting to be the leader who stood up against?
You see, it's unfortunate that political expediency, even by that mention, I'm already implying something negative. Okay? And yet, political compromise is actually at the heart of it. And anyone who is willing to move forward politically usually has mastered the art of compromise, knowing here I have to give way. Here I can push forward. Because in the absence of that, these changes that we talk about that genuinely help people, those things don't actually occur.
No, they don't.
They will not. Look at our own country right from the time when we got our independence. Ndu keeps giving us examples of her country. That issue of North, this time, next, South. Compromise. Understanding that, something, for us to be able to have a permanent handshake, let's just agree. North, South. East and West, you sort yourself out. But North, South.
North.
Yes. You just cut it in half and then this side is North, this side is
yes.
If you fall in between, you're just either North or South.
Yes.
But now, the details, we leave to you to decide. You see, compromise. And that is part of the reason why even multipartyism is supposed to be effective, because in multipartyism, there has to be compromise.
Yeah.
Even what we're seeing in our country right now, with all these political hoo-ha, it's compromise. People trying to figure out how do we work together? How can we get together to work? You may not think you like what is happening because your preferred candidate isn't in that particular camp. But this, as I've said before, these are the benefits of a democracy. All these things that you see, that we can even have this conversation as we're having it. Now, these are the benefits.
Democracy working itself out and ironing out the kinks and see then how do we get a situation where we can all abide under the same umbrella and not kill each other.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Someone says something and they're opposed. Good thing.
Now, there's this thing that happens every year around this time, okay? satellite alignment with Earth and everything else, and it affects our signal. So it affects the TV signal, and it also affects radio signal. So at about 9:53 a.m., for 4 minutes, we may have been off air in some parts of the country. And this is not because we switched off our mitambo. It is because the stars aligned.
They're aligned. Okay.
And because of aligning, something happens.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Coming to the end of the show, CT, today's proverb.
Even the fiercest leader in the world is overcome by sleep. You see, there are attributes by which we know people. When you see someone is calm, it doesn't mean they don't lose their cool. It's just that predominantly when you look at the traits of their behavior, they tend to be calm. Okay? And fierceness is an attribute that some leaders have. And one late president of Tanzania was considered a fierce leader. Now, fierce, again, remember, if you look at it as a description and you look at the fearlessness of a person, it's their willingness to go forward where other people would otherwise fear to tread. Now, that, my friend,
doesn't make you invincible.
No, it doesn't make you invincible, but it only makes you human. That really is the point.
Okay.
A decision that you've made. And with that decision will come the tool by which people judge you. And this is now what we call legacy.
Bas.
Yes.